Oh my, is it getting juicy here with the Celsius story? Welcome everyone back into Crypto's News. It is me, your host, Omar Bam, aka Crypto, here to give you the latest and the greatest news. All the news that's fit to print to try to make sure that you stay on top with what's going on in these markets. And man, is it getting juicy. We're finding out now that there may have been a level of corruption, downright Ponzi schemeness at Celsius that I personally could not have imagined. It really reminds us of BitConnect. We are seeing a BitConnect that was even worse than BitConnect, because at least BitConnect was transparently a Ponzi scheme, but Celsius may have been operating like a Ponzi scheme after a certain point, as we're now finding out from a lawsuit that has been filed in New York. It hasn't been completely accepted yet in New York City, but it does seem like it will be very soon, as it's been only electronically filed. But it's got all sorts of details, juicy, based on this individual named Jason Stone, who started a company called KeyFi that was providing services to Celsius when it came to operating, for example, their yield earning strategies. So we're going to be diving into that, and I think that's really the main story we're going to be covering today. So if you haven't yet been joining us on Twitter, seeing that entire debacle, I'm happy to bring you on board to make sure you're always on top of things. So thank you for joining me here if you are live, and if you're not, thanks for checking it out. What's up, BT? Thanks for joining again. Gabriel, Validator, ETH, always showing up. What's up, my man? Okay, so let's take a look at the prices. Today is another great day when it came to crypto prices. We have Bitcoin up 5.3%. It's getting quite vertical here, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see it give back some. Same thing with Ethereum and some other coins. It's up 4.5%. And you know, this is interesting right now. People were saying that Bitcoin might actually be having some downside today because you had Celsius paying down the rest of their maker loans. They had a maker loan that they had to continue to pay in order to withdraw the collateral that they had in the form of wrapped Bitcoin. They have been granted access to about $500 million worth of wrapped Bitcoin today after finalizing the last of their payments to their maker CDP, to their debt position. So some were saying that this was going to be a dump, that they were going to be dumping some Bitcoin. But yeah, the prices seem to be holding up quite well in the dump. Another dump that I'm hearing rumors of is that we're going to have a bunch of Bitcoin that are being, billions of Bitcoin going to be sold at the end of August by the Mountain Gox. So you remember that big Bitcoin exchange that are due those Bitcoin from those who got hacked, and they might be potentially dumping into the market. And that would be ripe time, as Ethereum Jesus said on Twitter, ripe time for the flippening, because Bitcoin will have a crash and Ethereum is getting ready to merge, get a 90% reduction in issuance. And that would be lining up quite nicely with the flippening. So some are saying maybe we did see a bottom. It's funny how short the memory is in crypto. I'm trying to type in here ultrasound.money. I believe that's the website. Yeah, there it is. You can actually mess with this website and see just how much of a reduction things are going to be when the merge happens. You can click here, simulate merge, so you can see the current supply growth, the issuance right now for ETH per year, and the burn rate. A lot of this is after EIP 1559 that took place in the summer, which was an Ethereum proposal that has resulted in a lot of fees being burned. And you can see that issuance is going to be dropping by actually negative. So negative 0.5% a year, according to these estimates here on the merge. This would line up really nicely if you have a lot of Bitcoin being sold. But I'm still of the mindset that all these things are kind of tethered together. So I don't know that we'll in fact see the flippening just yet, but I guess anything is possible if that does happen around then. Hey, Cryptshifter, good to see you back as well. Hey, Igloo Bamboo. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive into what's going on here with this breaking news that is unfolding right now. I think it's catching a lot of people off guard, this lawsuit. Seems like this individual and his company were quite private, but we're now finding out some details that are, again, juicy. So here it comes out. 0xB1 came out on Twitter and said this: "Hi all, I'm Jason Stone, and from August 2020 until April 2021, I led the group of talented individuals who managed the 0xB1 address, which was linked to Celsius. Before leading 0xB1, I spent years in the proof of stake realm creating yield optimization strategies. In 2019, I founded a company called KeyFi that wrote MPC staking software and strategies. After discussion with Celsius Network in mid-2020, Celsius began an acquisition of KeyFi's assets and team. They must have liked their strategies. Therefore, after I pivoted KeyFi to staking and deploying DeFi strategies for Celsius specifically, in August 2020, 0xB1 was created along with other addresses to send Celsius Network's customer deposits to us to manage," says Jason Stone. "Shortly after, Celsius shared the private keys to addresses with us, and over the ensuing months transferred hundreds of millions of dollars of customer deposits for us to invest. By the time Celsius and KeyFi parted ways, we were managing nearly $2 billion worth of deposits." Just like that. Celsius's risk management team monitored our investment strategies. Risk management. If this is true, by the way, I don't know that there even exists a risk management team that wasn't on at happy hour the whole time. But anyway, Celsius's risk, I have to laugh, even though I'm one of the depositors at Celsius. I really just, the only way to get through this is to laugh. Celsius's risk management team monitored our investment strategies and performance using HedgeGuard and DBank. They assured me that as part of this monitoring, their trading team was adequately hedging any potential impermanence loss. You know, when you put two things into a pool, right? Into one of these automated market makers like Uniswap, and the price changes on one of these assets, you might be due less of that asset when you withdraw from your yield generating strategy there. Anyway, impermanence loss, worth looking into. But yeah, so their trading teams adequately were supposed to be hedging any potential impermanence loss from our activities and liquidity pools, says 0xB1 here. That's the account by Jason Stone. They also assured me that they had risk management and hedging in place to account for fluctuations in token prices. So kind of similar to the impermanence loss protection they supposedly had. But in late February 2021, we discovered Celsius had lied to us. They had not been hedging our activities, nor had they been hedging the fluctuations in crypto asset prices. The entire company's portfolio had naked exposure to the market. After seeing these and other major problems in how the company operated, we informed Celsius that we wished to terminate our relationship. That was March 2021. We told Celsius that we would work with them to unwind our various positions over the following months. By April 2021, the value of our assets under management had increased by over $800 million. But when we unwound the DeFi position, Celsius suffered impermanence loss. At first, they believed the impermanence loss was evidence of DeFi stealing and accused me of being a thief, says Jason. They later came to accept the impermanence loss for what it was. Did they not even understand what impermanence loss was, Celsius? They came later to accept the IL for what it was, but claimed I was responsible for it. They completely ignored the fact that they had full visibility into all trading strategies deployed by KeyFi and promised to hedge that exact risk. They were like, oh yeah, no, yeah, we got you on that IL. We got you on that. We got you on that. Don't worry, just sign below the line. Don't read too closely. We're good. We're Celsius. We got this. I have tried for over a year to quickly settle this dispute with Celsius. Anyway, point being, they go ahead and file this lawsuit, as we can now dive into. There was a link in that post. I retweeted it. You can check it out on Twitter if you're not coming from there right now, at Cryptos News, if you want to check it out for yourself. But you can check it out and see KeyFi Inc. versus Celsius Network Limited. And man, we're going to go ahead and read that because it's quite juicy. And then a section at the bottom that gets into the exact nature of the Ponzi scheme that I had here in the title. But the parties are the plaintiff, the accuser, KeyFi Inc., a Delaware corporation with a principal place of business in New York, New York. Jason Stone is the founder and CEO of KeyFi, and he is that 0xB1 account on Twitter that we were just looking at, and the main manager of that address, that famous address. And defendant is Celsius Network Limited, a private company incorporated under the laws of, this is great, of England and Wales, with the principal place of business in London, England. Celsius Network Limited recently announced that it's exiting the United Kingdom in order to avoid that jurisdiction's regulatory oversight. So to keep the party going, they were actually going to be leaving the UK altogether. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. So introduction. This action concerns a defendant's refusal to honor its contractual obligations to pay the plaintiff millions of dollars it is owed pursuant to a profit-sharing agreement that was entered into the parties between the parties in January 2021. The dispute came to a head when plaintiff discovered that the defendants had been leveraging Celsius's customer deposits to manipulate crypto asset markets, had failed to institute basic accounting controls which endangered those same deposits, and had failed to carry through on promises that induced plaintiff to undertake various trading strategies. On June 12, 2022, these issues, which plaintiff identified in March 2021, have now caused harm not only to the plaintiff, to KeyFi, but the hundreds of thousands of people who use the defendant's platform, Celsius, as defendants are now refusing to honor requests by its customers to withdraw the assets they deposited and entrusted with defendants. Defendants operate a crypto lending platform that receives crypto asset deposits from consumers seeking to earn interest on their crypto holdings. Defendants' business depends on them using the pool of assets to generate income by, 1, lending those assets to others, and 2, investing the funds in the crypto markets and various yield strategies. Defendants' profits thus depend on them earning income above and beyond the amounts they need to pay the customers for their deposits. Prior to plaintiff coming on board, defendants had no unified, organized, or overarching investment strategy other than lending out the consumer deposits they received. That was their only plan. It's kind of like fractional reserve banking, but it's more like a Ponzi scheme, according to this, or became that ultimately. Instead, they were desperately seeking a potential investment that could earn more than they owed to their depositors. Where's that juicy investment gonna be? Might even make our own, known as Celsius token. Otherwise, they would have to use additional deposits to pay the interest owed on prior deposits, a classic Ponzi scheme. The recent revelation that Celsius does not have the assets on hand to meet its withdrawal obligations shows that defendants were in fact operating a Ponzi scheme. Jason Stone, the CEO and founder of KeyFi Inc., is a pioneer in the world of modern crypto asset deployment strategies. In August 2020 through March 2021, he managed billions of dollars in crypto asset investments for defendants. This is the first that I hear about Jason Stone, but a lot of people do like to stay low key, stay under wraps. So I'm not going to go ahead and just say that he's a complete liar, although I will say that this does need to be proven in court. That's the whole point of taking someone to court. This doesn't necessarily show without irrefutable doubt that Celsius is in fact running a scheme, but the amount of detail that we're getting here is a bit damning to me. Even coming out and outing his own name, of course, and really being at the head of this, it's not really looking too great right now for Celsius, in my opinion. But anyway, let's continue. For most of the time, the parties operated without any formal written agreement, recognizing instead that they were engaged in enterprise for mutual benefit based on mutual respect and trust. It reminds me of those under collateralized loans that were given to Roger Ver by CoinFlex. Yeah, trust, right? Trust me, bro. From August 2020 through March 2021, plaintiff generated hundreds of millions of dollars in profits for the parties' mutual benefit. Those profits came in the form of transaction fees, rewards for staking tokens, and other appreciating assets. As in any investment relationship, plaintiff and Stone were responsible for generating a profit on the funds provided to them, while Celsius was responsible for ensuring that its investment strategies would not prevent it from repaying its depositors in kind. The parties' relationship began to break down when Stone discovered that not only did defendants lack basic security controls to protect the billions of dollars in consumer funds they held, but they were actively using customer funds to manipulate crypto asset markets to their benefit. The most egregious example of this was plaintiff's discovery that Celsius used customer Bitcoin deposits to inflate its own crypto asset called the Celsius token, STEL. And we're going to see in another section just how crazy it gets, really. Stone also learned of multiple incidents where defendants' failure to perform basic accounting endangered customer funds. One such example included Celsius improperly accounting for certain payments owed to customers. So this is a little vague right here, but again, they get into more detail if you want to read the whole thing below. I'm not going to be reading the whole thing. I'm just reading the intro and one other section, but there is more detail on all of these claims within this lawsuit that has been filed there, or is trying to. It's been electronically filed. In New York. One such example included Celsius improperly accounting for certain payments owed to customers, resulting in a $200 million liability the company did not even understand how or why it owed. We're just 200 million, 2 billion. We got holes everywhere. These incredible losses meant that the billions of dollars of customers' deposits could not be returned to those customers in the event that customers sought their funds back. Celsius, for its part, was not concerned about these risks because it believed that the billions of dollars of customer deposits it managed are its property. Specifically, Celsius's terms of service, which are buried on its website, state that all digital assets transferred to Celsius as part of the services are owned and held by Celsius for its own account. Further, the Celsius terms of service state that Celsius does not hold any digital assets on your behalf, but instead are owned, held, and or controlled by Celsius. When plaintiff expressed concern regarding Celsius's use of customer funds without appropriate risk of management, Celsius executives repeatedly assured Stone that the company had entered necessary hedging transactions to ensure that price fluctuations in certain crypto assets would not materially and negatively impact the company or its ability to repay depositors. Stone and his team relied on these representations when deploying certain trading strategies, but these promises were lies. Lies! Despite its repeated assurances, Celsius failed to implement basic risk management strategies to protect against the risks of price fluctuations that were inherent in many of the deployed investment strategies. They just YOLO'd into everything, it looks like, not even understanding what IL meant. These failures not only harmed plaintiff by negatively impacting the profit share that was going to be due to KeyFi, but have now caused Celsius to refuse to honor customer withdrawal requests. Celsius's former chief financial officer shared plaintiff's concerns and repeatedly raised these issues to Celsius's senior management. Hey guys, this looks a little bit shady. Maybe we actually want to understand what IL means. I looked up what IL. Okay, I'll shut up. Faced with mounting evidence of defendants' disorganization, mismanagement, and fraud, plaintiff concluded he could no longer work for defendants. In March 2021, plaintiff informed defendants that he would be terminating the business relationship. Defendants retaliated by repeatedly refusing to recognize Stone's resignation. You didn't quit, bro. It's not polite to quit. And then refusing to pay plaintiff their share of the profits. The unfortunate events that have publicly unfolded in recent weeks show that the plaintiff was right. Celsius grossly mismanaged its customer funds, failed to perform basic internal auditing to account for its obligations, and manipulated crypto assets to the benefit of itself and its principals. Damn, I mean, is this coming to a head or what? We're going to go ahead and skip here to section F because this is where it does get quite a bit more detailed into some of some of these Ponzi scheme accusations that we're getting into. So in January 2021, around the time the APA and the service agreement were executed, that was gone into more detail above, what was going to be due to KeyFi, what was expected, so on. An MOA, what is it? An understanding of some sort of mutual agreement or whatever. Stone grew alarmed by Celsius's improper business practices, ultimately concluding that its business practices were so corrupt that he and KeyFi could no longer do business with Celsius. 3 discoveries by Stone formed the basis for his decision to extricate himself from his position as CEO of Celsius KeyFi, which was a then formed company which had 2 members, Celsius Limited. I think they get into that. Celsius Limited and Jason Stone himself. So first, Stone became aware that since at least February 2020, Celsius had engaged in a series of transactions designed to artificially inflate the price of Cell tokens, Celsius's own tokens. You might remember that you had the option, if you were not in the United States or in certain jurisdictions, to earn in Celsius token, where you could be earning a higher rate for that. But a series of transactions that had apparently been engaged designed to artificially inflate the price of these Cell tokens. Connor Nolan, head of coin deployment at Celsius, informed Stone, hey bro, there is something, this happened, that Celsius had used approximately 4,500 Bitcoin with a current value of $9 million in customer deposits to purchase Cell on the open market between February 2020 and November 2020 to artificially inflate the price. So that could have very well been why it was going up so much, to lure more people in. The purpose of this scheme was both fraudulent and illegal, says this paperwork here. Celsius induced customers to be paid in Cell tokens by providing them with higher interest rates. Then by purposefully and artificially inflating the price of the Cell token, Celsius was able to pay customers who had elected to receive their interest payments in the form of the Cell token, even less of the crypto asset. We'll give you more of this shitcoin, and we will have to pay you less of something that actually has value, that's not inflated artificially. Although there's a lot of speculation about how much is artificially inflated in crypto in general, but I guess it's artificially deflated because of the futures market, right? And because of short ETFs, right? Where's our long ETF? SEC. In addition, by artificially increasing the price of the Cell token, Alex Mashinsky, head of Celsius, who personally owned hundreds of millions of dollars worth in Cell token at its height, was able to enrich himself considerably. This scheme also made it appear that there was substantial demand for and volume of trading in Cell tokens. Most of us did believe that that was legitimate, since Celsius was just the cool kid on the block. Celsius uses artificial demand to convince lenders that the Cell tokens it held in its treasury were liquid, market viable asset, which could be used as collateral for loans to Celsius. Celsius utilized these loans to pay customers their interest and to provide customers with loans backed by cryptocurrency collateral. Because Celsius was struggling to develop its own profits, these loans were essential to Celsius' continuing operations, legitimate loans. Essentially, Celsius was manipulating the market for Cell tokens so that it could borrow against its sizable treasury to create the appearance it was generating yields in excess of the amounts owed to clients, when in fact it was not. And it's gone. Oh, I hope it's not all gone. 777 subscribers. Woo! Who are the 2 that we just got? Welcome. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, we started the show with 775 and climbing. So second, Stone became aware that Celsius had deceived him about the existence of hedging transactions designed to hedge against the authorized DeFi transactions Stone was performing. Just do whatever you want, Stone. We got you. Celsius's failure to implement the promised hedging transactions harmed not just Stone and KeyFi. Stone learned that Celsius had exposed other customer deposits, i.e. not managed by the SPV, to potentially billions of dollars in losses by failing to properly hedge against all its profit-seeking strategies. Third, Stone learned of further financial mismanagement that threatened to plunge Celsius into insolvency. As mentioned above, Celsius paid a portion of interest on deposits in Cell token and a portion of interest in other crypto assets such as Bitcoin and Ether. With respect to customers who chose to be paid in the crypto asset they deposited rather than Cell tokens, that was my case. I never wanted to touch those things. But anyway, Celsius logged those liabilities on its books in a US dollar denominated basis from 2018 through 2020, despite the fact that it paid its customers out in the underlying token. It then failed to market those to market those assets in its internal ledger, as there was some weird accounting going on at Celsius. As those crypto assets appreciated, creating a substantial hole in its accounting. Also, that's where the $2 billion went. You thought it was in this, but it was in that. Oh, okay. They're still at happy hour. Throughout 2020 and 2021, crypto assets such as Bitcoin and Ether substantially appreciated compared to the dollar. Yet, Celsius failed to update its ledger in order to reflect the increasing dollar value of its liabilities, at least at any time before 2021. The accounting error masked hundreds of millions of dollars in liabilities that Celsius was not prepared to pay out. When Jason Stone left Celsius, Celsius had $100 to $200 million hole in its balance sheet that it could not fully explain or resolve. Despite this balance sheet insolvency, Celsius continues to take on more customer assets, which means it continues to accrue considerable liabilities to the detriment of its current creditors. I mean, it makes sense now why we're still getting those emails. Hey, you've received this much in rewards this week, which might, by the way, for me have dropped substantially since I'm not earning because my imaginary money, my imaginary electronic money that is imaginarily perhaps held at Celsius is not even held on an earn account. It was moved to the custody account, which I was planning to literally within the hours just withdraw from Celsius. I was actually about to make a video to let everyone know, hey, this is probably the right time to get out of Celsius right now. I'm about to withdraw funds. I was just about to do that. Boom. That's when we had those issues. And I got stuck there, so I'm not even able to earn. I'm basically receiving nothing in rewards. But yeah, what an insult. But it makes sense if Celsius is in fact a Ponzi scheme. So let's look into it. In this section G, the Celsius Ponzi scheme. In January 2021, the crypto markets began a bull cycle. I mean, this is just crazy. This is how you can lose money as one of the top crypto companies, even in a bull market, which has to be one of the dumbest mistakes, if this is true, that I've ever heard of. But check it out. In January 2021, the crypto markets began a bull cycle, which caused Celsius, who had recklessly and fraudulently failed to hedge its investments, to suffer severe exchange rate losses. How, you might ask? In January 2021, the price of Ether increased over 50% in just a couple of days and continued to climb over the next few weeks. Many of us were there for that, right? Going from a low of 0.24 BTC per Ether on January 1st to a high of 0.45 BTC per Ether token on February 4th. The Celsius had massive liabilities to depositors denominated in Ether but had not maintained ETH holdings equal to those liabilities. Instead, Celsius had authorized DeFi strategies that resulted in the shifting of assets from Ether to other cryptocurrencies and inexplicably had failed to hedge against the well-known risk. So yeah, your Ether, sorry, it's gone. It's become a shit coin without any protection at all. As customers sought to withdraw their Ether deposits, Celsius was forced to buy Ether in the open market at historically high prices, suffering heavy losses. Faced with a liquidity crisis, Celsius began to offer double-digit interest rates in order to lure in new depositors. This is something we saw just before they even stopped withdrawals recently, where they were offering some of the best rates that we've ever seen. And they were offering, I had seen huge rewards. Deposit this much ETH and you'll be getting this much in rewards. It just seemed to me kind of shady considering the red flags that have been coming out. And I guess it was not without reason, rhyme or reason. But yeah, so faced with a liquidity crisis, Celsius began to offer double-digit interest rates in order to lure new depositors whose funds were used to repay earlier depositors and creditors, just like a Ponzi scheme. Thus, while Celsius continued to market itself as a transparent and well-capitalized business, in reality it had become a Ponzi scheme. So yeah, ruthless indeed. Richard Hart, what, he was on Fox Business yesterday, right? Oh man, talking about Hex. Oh man, we're still talking about Hex. But yeah, it's been rough for a lot of people. I really hope that it's not all true. I hope that Celsius is a legitimate business because we have had a lot of people who have been having severe pain. So this is something that's been going around on Twitter. I just had to share. I'm someone in just as much pain, but maybe not as much as some of these others. And I always recommend thinking about tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, who knows what tomorrow brings, right? So Hi Dog goes, I hated every second of this. The losses hurt, but that's a risk I accepted. The frozen account wasn't part of my risk equation. Should have been. I mean, for me, it was, but I screwed up personally. But I was very well aware that when you deposit funds with a centralized operator, you could lose them. I mean, that's what drove me to crypto in the first place. Should always be a part of your equation. And then 14 with 1 ETH says, this is what's hard to stomach, to be honest. Losses due to loss of value is something that can happen. Losses due to the company loaning my hard earned money out, losing that money, and then going bankrupt is a whole different kind of pain. Then Tatted and Educated has to say $205,000 in USDC stablecoin. Literally everything I freaking had. I'm a complete mess right now. I have $900 in my checking account and no steady job. I mean, it reminds me of someone. I was using my savings to pursue my artistic career. Oh, this is like my bro at heart. Now I don't even have enough money to pay my rent this month. I'm freaking ruined. Anyone else seriously thinking about ending it? I don't see a point in going forward anymore. I'm not going to lie, says Master1233. I've looked at my safe and thought about grabbing my gun multiple times to end my life due to this. Never felt so numb in my life. You know, I think that there is a lot of numbness about this, but it's been interesting to me that we haven't seen the suicide hotline being posted, which is usually posted in times like this, I think it needs to be posted now more than ever because we really do have some seriously suicidal individuals thanks to the if not malicious, completely negligent activities that Celsius and others have been participating in, causing all kinds of destruction and now further regulation for crypto, trying to bring the noose around it and really slowing down adoption and trying to slow down adoption. I think today just Biden got some sort of international on his desk. He got some sort of new international regulation for crypto that he's going to be taking a look at. It's just it gets exhausting, man. What if we had just done this completely decentralized and things could have been different, man? But this is, I guess, a part of it, right? There needs to be the darkness in order to appreciate the light and to really learn our lessons. So I hope that you enjoyed the show. I hope that this is not completely true and that it's not as damning as it seems to be, because this could really mean that we ain't getting back much, my friends. If this is true, I mean, we have creditors who are due before us. But really, when you're a depositor, you're really the last line here. Retail people like you and I who might have deposited funds at Celsius are kind of the last who get the money back. First, it's others like KeyFi who are due that money if they are in fact due it. And so we may receive just pennies on the dollar, and I hope it's not the case, but we will have to wait and see. Claims haven't been proven, but it's going to be one of the new unfolding dramas that takes place. So thanks for joining me for this kind of grim, but we have to laugh again, update on the Celsius situation, which is the main story, I would say, for the day, as it does affect a lot of crypto individuals. And it was something that I did talk about on the show. I had Alex on the show. I did have a referral that I had put up. And so I feel a sense of responsibility in updating, of course, myself by following it, and you guys as well with what I'm learning in the situation that also, brought down the whole market. Although we're hearing that there might be less contagion now. I think Sam Friedman came out and said he thinks we might be near a bottom if macro doesn't wet the bed. I think we all kind of agree, right? It's about macro wetting the the bed, not the bread. Either way, we get something quite moldy in crypto. But yeah, we haven't confirmed no bottom yet. But anyway, the fact that we had Celsius go down and some of the big players means that maybe some of the bigger players are not going to go down unless, of course, it's a major exchange. I wouldn't want to see that at this stage in the game. But anyway, let's finish it with our quote of the day. A real friend, and I hope to be that to you guys. I know that it's, again, tough with what's going on in the markets, what's going on with some of these these centralized finance operations, and I wanted to be here with you guys. I know I had left for a while, but I felt, again, a sense of responsibility of keeping the crypto community going. And thank you for those who are helping seed it again from the very start. But yeah, a real friend is one who walks in when the rest of the world walks out. Wallace is very excited. My dog. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Take care, everyone. Much love and stay cryptic. Peace.